My name is John Bielka. I work for Pacific Seafood, and we're opposing the ban on net pen aquaculture. Pacific Seafood is considered to be the largest seafood company in the United States. We have commercial fishing fleets. We have processing plants that stretch from Alaska down to California. We have distribution facilities. We have oyster farms, and we have fish farms. Our fish farms are located on the Columbia River. They're within the Colville Tribal Territory, and they were started back in 1994. We harvest millions of pounds of steelhead annually. The unemployment rate in the Colville Tribal Territory is 91%. We have tribal employees, and we work under a tribal NPDES permit, which is mirrored after the state NPDES permit. We do our sediment analysis, we do all of our NPDES analysis, and we have been cleared. We're now looking at building a processing plant there, a hatchery building, and employing more and more people within the tribal territory. Currently, we're looking for other sites, maybe here in Jefferson County or neighboring counties. And I don't know if everybody knows, but in the United States, there's over $9 billion trade deficit in the seafood industry. And we are bringing in product from other countries, and we could be producing it locally here. We could be setting up net pen culture facilities here, and we could be setting up processing facilities and hatcheries and employing local people. This creates both direct and indirect jobs in this industry. I've been doing this for over 20 years now, and I've set up fish farms before, and they're still running today, and they're still meeting all of the environmental impact regulations. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Susan Hopkins, and she's followed by Scott Cloxton.
My name is Susan Hopkins. I live on the water in Jefferson County. I was going to decline to speak until the previous speaker.
Please speak up.
Speak right into the microphone, then.
I disagree completely with having net pen farms in Jefferson County. I do not trust the science behind it. I do not trust their ability to control on environmental disasters. They may have a good record now, but we're having increasingly erratic weather, more storms. I don't trust net pens. I don't want them in Jefferson County.
Great, thank you very much. Scott Cloxton, is it? And he's followed by Peter Downey. Mr. Cloxton.
Ready for this. I live in the water.
Speak right into the microphone if you would, sir. Thank
I
you.
live in the water here. I've been there like for 50 years. I haven't noticed that much degradation, except that the net fishers have taken out most of the fish. But over the last year, say, everybody in here has read where almost every municipal system in the Puget Sound has failed to the point of millions of gallons frequently. And it just seems like a waste to come up here and drop the hammer on small single-family residences when Winslow can flow for 6 or 8 days before they even notice it. Clean that stuff up. You'll get a clean sound. Thank you.
Peter Downey, and he's followed by James Hutton.
My name is Peter Downey. I live at 371 Crutchwood Road in Fort Townsend. I am president of Discovery Bay Shellfish. I am also chair of the Jefferson County Planning Commission. Tonight, my comments are my own. They do not represent any position from the Planning Commission. First, I want to talk about the common line setback that we put in for residential structures of 300 feet. The reason why we used such a large area this is where you have one house sitting next to a lot that's vacant. If it's within 300 feet, you can use the same setback as that house that's your neighbor. The reason why we use such a large distance to allow that closer setback is because Jefferson County is a very rural county. It's not like other counties in the state where you have lots that are crammed together and you can go with a smaller common line setback. And so we thought, as an equity piece, that 300-foot distance between houses was appropriate for Jefferson County. And I think ecology should respect that. The second thing I want to talk about is the 150-foot buffer for industrial shoreline environmental designations. The Planning Commission had originally suggested 50-foot buffer. That was changed to 150-foot buffer. But I think it's necessary for those. There are only a few properties in Jefferson County that are designated industrial, and to have a 150-foot buffer on those areas, I think, is not consistent with provisions of the Shoreline Management Act that call for multiple uses of the shoreline. And I would worry that it's going to really cripple any development on those industrial properties. The third thing I would like to talk about is requiring a conditional use permit for geoduck aquaculture. All of the shellfish aquaculture doesn't require a conditional use permit. This requirement is arbitrary. It's not based on science or net loss of ecological functions. Geoduck aquaculture should be treated no differently than any other shellfish aquaculture. I'd also like to comment on the priority aquatic shoreline environmental designations that the Jefferson County has come up with. This is innovative, it's new, no other county has done this. It's fundamental to the protection of Jefferson County's ecosystems, and I would ask ecology look at that and actually use that as a model in other counties. The final thing I want to talk about is the shoreline environmental designation in the very bottom of Discovery Bay, where Highway 101 runs right along the shoreline. And I'll be more specific in my written comments. But I think that was incorrectly designated natural. I don't think you can have a natural area with a major highway running through it. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. James Hutton. And he's followed by Robert Knudsen. He's next.
Hi,
Real close to the microphone.
I live in Discovery Bay and I have waterfront property. This is not so much a concern for my dwelling, but I think the idea of a blanket 150-foot setback for residential is totally wrong. It aids the rights of property owners. It should be looked at as an individual basis. In some cases, 150 feet might be appropriate, in other cases not. And if I understand it, if that's a blanket 150 feet, which I think that kind of a blanket thing is not realistic or reasonable for property owners. So I just wanted to voice my concern about that.
Okay, thank you very much. Robert Knudsen is next, followed by Richard Elliott.
Thank you. I'm Robert Knudsen. I live in Port Ludlow. I have 2 homes on the water. And I think I'd like to talk about some general things regarding the state that might help us, all of us. The first thing I'd like to say is the state of Washington now has a 223-page pamphlet that is used to just figure out permits. And to get to the building permit, you end up going to page 108. So we have a government that actually is out of control in making new regulations. And my suggestion to you would be this. Just recently, in the last month, the state of Washington legislature decided to overrule proposition or initiative, 960, which required 2/3 of the legislature to vote to pass new taxes. The state of Washington has grown by over 30% in the last 5 years. I urge every one of you, there is a new initiative that's going around now called Initiative 1053. I encourage every one of you to sign that. Let's get the 2/3 back in again, and maybe some of this stuff can be stopped.
Thank you.